Yes! Yeah! Okay. I really don't know what I'm doing here. This is kind of. Anyway, so I got the popcorn bucket, which comes with an actual popcorn bucket, featuring the man himself, the Red Guardian, and it has Red Guardian limo service protecting you from boring evening. This was a must. All right. Now here's the thing, for Black Widow, I just didn't find Red Guardian very funny. I thought the writing was just very poor. I thought his jokes just didn't hit the mark. And it was the same thing with What If as well. I just didn't think it was funny at all. But in this movie, his writing was so good, along with This Is Gonna Keep Falling. Everyone's writing was so good. And that sort of falls in line with the A24 expectations, um, that it comes with A24. And so I think it really worked for this one as well. I think we need more Marvel movies like this one. So let's sort of talk about the world of Marvel. Sort of beating a dead horse, reviewing Marvel movies. So I've reviewed some of the shows, and I did like those that I reviewed, like Loki and Agatha. But reviewing movies is something I just typically try to avoid. It's just sort of popular to hate Marvel, and they haven't really been on a very good streak for a while. There have been some good ones. Everyone says is crap since Endgame, but Spider-Man was really good. Guardians was really good. And then Deadpool Wolverine was really good. And Deadpool Wolverine sort of brings us to Thunderbolts, in my opinion. And the reason is Deadpool Wolverine was a film I really, really liked. Say what you want about the cameos. It was still fun. Was it a technically great movie? Did the plot have a lot of complexities that sort of made it interesting? I don't know. This is going to get old really fast. So, I'll just hold it. Whatever. Captain America Brave New World. Brave New World I thought was fine. I thought it was interesting. It was fun. It added a lot of new characters. It had a few familiar ones, but added some new ones as well, which I thought was good for it. And so, okay, I think we're going to be done with this. So, we're going to set this over here so it can be part of the video because I thought it was really cool. And we'll just move this over and we'll just sort of improv. Okay, so I thought Deadpool Wolverine was really, really good. I thought Captain America Brave New World was actually pretty good. And I think Thunderbolts was really good. So we finally have a streak going of good Marvel movies, which it's been a while. A lot of the movies from Endgame up until Deadpool Wolverine have sort of been 50-50, whether you like it or not. But I think they've been on a good streak since last year. So we're going to sort of dive into Thunderbolts of why I think it was so good, because there are multiple reasons. And it's going to be hard for me, I think, to sort of remember to hit all of those points because it was so involved. Now, this movie does have a lot of complexities to the moral compass of the characters, how they work as a team, why they work as a team. And I think a lot of that sort of translates to kind of how Avengers movies started. So let's sort of dive into where this movie picks up. Picks up with Elena Belova, our basically new Black Widow. And for her, we have this sort of opening where she's doing these jobs. It's standard. It's just one mission after another. She doesn't feel like she's really fulfilling any kind of purpose. And so it's just one mission after the other. And, you know, her sister was a hero. And so she, I think, wants to sort of not be recognized as a hero, but follow her sister's footsteps a little bit into doing some real good. Because she's starting to sort of question whether or not she's doing real good or not with what she's doing, specifically working for Valentina Allegra, longest name ever. So, it opens with her, and we get to see sort of how she works, how she operates, what she struggles with, what she's tired of, what she's bored of. And she's obviously very good at what she does. So she's not an untouchable character when it comes to big villains and stuff, but she is an untouchable character when it comes to your run-of-the-mill gunmen when it comes to Marvel movies. And I think that's fine, because we need characters who are sort of vulnerable, but still they have this impressive fighting style where it's just fun to root for them, not just, oh, well, if they get hit, then I guess this character's written out for half the movie. And so, as we push forward with our story, she ends up finding the man himself, the Red Guardian, her father, saying, hey, she's basically asking him, what made you happy? Because she's not happy. And the Guardian says, serving his country, being the Red Guardian. And that's sort of all he's ever wanted. And he throws the Black Widow card at her, saying, her sister was a hero and served her country. She was an Avenger. And so having that sort of thrown at Yelena, she's still wrestling with that sort of internal compass where she doesn't see herself as a hero. She sees herself as this gun for hire, basically. And so Val, she's referred to in Val for this movie, so I'm just going to call her Val. Val gives her another mission saying, go to this big site, and there's going to be someone there trying to steal something, go and kill her. And so while the background story is happening for Val, government officials are trying to have her impeached for what they found out she did. I'm not sure. They sort of just skip to the impeachment part where she's trying to tie up all loose ends, and that now includes Yelena as well. And so this character, Mel, which is sort of her assistant, I guess, she has sort of the story with Bucky, and we'll get into that. But right now, she is another new character brought on for this movie. She's one of, I think, the only new characters brought on. And so as we have the committee and this site where Yelena's going, these are sort of our two scenes for a while, where it feels like the first third at least into the movie, maybe half into the movie, are these two locations. And I think it works. And so when Yelena gets there, she sees Ghost going in. We see from the trailers Ghost. If you didn't watch any trailer, Ghost has a new suit in this movie, so maybe if you didn't watch any trailer whatsoever, you'll be surprised when Ghost takes her mask off. You're like, oh, it's Ghost. Or if you see the phasing powers and you're like, oh, I think that's Ghost. So the new suit is cool. It's a neater design than the last one, in my opinion. Just my personal opinion. So I think a lot of the suits were really good in this movie. There really wasn't one that I didn't care about. So as Yelena gets here, she's going after Ghost, but then John Walker shows up, and then Taskmaster shows up, and you sort of have these characters all trying to kill each other. But while they're fighting, now we see Bob. So he's sort of, what you can tell, if you pay very close attention, you see this cradle he's in, that the button gets hit to open it. But it doesn't show him falling out of the cradle. It just, if you pay enough attention, you can tell that's what it is. And so he was basically in this capsule, is what I'm going to call it. It was a capsule that he was held in. So now he's out, and at this point, by the time he starts interacting with the people, Ghost kills Taskmaster, which, yes, very sad. Anyway. I really didn't care about Taskmaster. I think Taskmaster falls in line with Kang. I think this version Taskmaster losing to, it's honestly the weaker of the Avengers, losing to Black Widow, it falls in line with Kang for this reason. Kang is someone who's supposed to conquer these other worlds, being Thor, Hulk, all these Avengers, but Wasp beat him. So I don't care if it was a female superhero, male superhero. Losing to one hero that's one of the weaker ones, when you've beaten so many other stronger characters, it's just, in my opinion, just bad writing. It just didn't feel like Kang. And it's the same thing with Taskmaster, where Taskmaster's supposed to fight the entire team of Avengers, which would include Thor and Hulk and these much stronger characters than Black Widow. But then she lost to one hero, which is the weaker one, compared to Hulk and Thor, at the very least. And so I just didn't care. Taskmaster was killed. I was honestly kind of glad. Maybe they can get a new character to be Taskmaster. They can have the original Taskmaster who takes things seriously and actually takes on the Avengers. Or maybe we'll have Taskmaster just thrown into Battle World or something for cameo's sake. But irregardless, Taskmaster is killed in this movie, and I honestly couldn't care less. So now that we've gotten Taskmaster out of the way, we have Ghost, John Walker, who is now a U.S. agent, even though he wasn't directly called U.S. agent in this movie. which was a little awkward because I know that's his suit, that's what he's supposed to be. But we have Ghost, John Walker, Yelena, and now Bob. So Bob doesn't really have any memory of anything. He doesn't know how he ended up there. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what kind of power set he has. He doesn't know anything. So John Walker is just calling him out. He sees him as this unstable variable that he has no idea who he is. And John Walker wants to be in control of everything. He has this sort of, he needs to be in control. And so as we start learning a little bit more about these characters, John Walker, he very much, you can see the sort of unstableness, if you will, of him having super soldier serum. It does have sort of this cockiness to him. But he does care about his country and his people, but he just has a weird way of showing it. He doesn't really know how to explain it. And so he really is an anti-hero. And that's what Ghost is as well. She's gun for hire, but she is helping people. Well, she helps people later in this movie as well. And Yelena's sort of done the same thing. So these are not really heroes, and which that's the advertisement. They're not super, they're not heroes, even though we have a super soldier on the team. But if you look back at the Avengers, Black Widow was an assassin. Hawkeye's basically an assassin. Hulk killed a bunch of people. Iron Man gave weapons to the militaries. And so you don't have these good people starting off from the Avengers. Captain America was like your one good character. And then Thor, I guess, a little bit. And so where you come to these new group of people, it kind of feels like Avengers again, where you have not just a bunch of just pure saviors. You just have these random complex characters, and that's sort of how it felt back then, and it felt that way very much so in this movie, which was a strong positive for me. And then while they're trying to escape, when they realize, oh, the place is locking down and Val sent us all to kill each other, and they can tell it's an incinerator. So when they realize they've been betrayed, they are basically forced to work together. They choose to work together. Even John Walker saying, hey, you guys just sit tight, I'll take you in, I'll handle everything. They ignore him. So Bob is now thrust into this whole, oh, all right, so I'll help out. What are we looking for? John Walker tells him, we're looking for not stupid questions, Bob. And so here begins the sort of banter between all these characters, where John Walker doesn't like Bob, Bob doesn't like John Walker. Ghost and Yelena are just offended by John Walker because he has no filter. And so there's just a lot of banter between them in this trying to escape scenes and scenario in this movie. And so as they're climbing up this tunnel after escaping the incinerator room, right before then, Bob ends up touching Yelena, where she gets triggered from this memory from her past. And this is a really dark memory. She comes to, doesn't really understand what's going on at first. And as they're climbing up this tunnel, in this elevator shaft, when they get to the top, Bob ends up touching John Walker as well, where he gets memory, where we see his wife left him, and a son. And so we get a little bit into his past as well. And so we're learning that's one of Bob's powers. And as they're escaping, Val is there with her basically private army, saying, all right, we're killing all these guys. And as they go face to face, their plan sort of goes wrong. Ghost takes off to go look for a vehicle, supposedly, and Yelena has this plan that backfires, so John Walker ends up fighting the guards that come inside to try and kill them. And then you have more banter between John Walker, Yelena, and Bob, and this banter, as I'm using the term loosely, is actually genuinely funny. You're getting a sense of who these characters are, you're getting a sense that these aren't just pure goodness characters. It's nice to sort of have this sort of chemistry between the cast that meshes really well. And so, because they don't just all like each other, for the comedy's sake, it's actually written well, and it's entertaining to see all this. And it also throws in a little bit of a risk of characters betraying each other, which, throwing that into the mix, I think raises the stakes a little bit too. And so they're sort of just hitting all the right points, in my opinion. They're sort of doing everything I wanted with these kinds of characters and in this kind of movie. And as they meet up with Ghost and they're trying to escape, Bob ends up helping, which is another joke in the movie, saying, oh no, Bob helped. And as he goes back to draw fire, to draw the soldiers away from them, they can get away, but they witness Bob being killed, where they all shoot him. but of course he survives. Flies into the air and crashes down on the vehicle they were escaping in. So now they're leaving on foot. Val sees the crash site of where Bob is, and now she's like, oh, okay, here's what we're going to do. So now that we've explained how Thunderbolts escaped this place, going back to the committee scenes with Val and the committee and this fundraiser she's having, Bucky is sort of trying to work Mel into saying, hey, you know she's not a good person, just help us out. And he's just being kind about it. He's not forcing her, he's not threatening her. Bucky's doing what Bucky does, and he does it well. So Mel is sort of on this moral fence of not only if she should help Val or help Bucky, but Mel ends up telling Val, hey, our Sentry project ended up having a survivor, and that's who Bob is. So by the time that he's found by Val's team at the site, Val knows who he is, and she knows what he is, and she knows that no one's going to understand what he is at all. He's basically, in her mind, the savior to the Avengers problem in the MCU, in the world of the MCU. And so, as our now 3 characters are leaving, Ghost, Yelena, and John Walker, they're having to walk. This all happens during the night. It's now daytime, and they hear this car coming toward them, and they don't know who it is. Elena's just sitting there like, oh my god. And as it gets closer, we see the limo from Red Guardian. And so, as he's approaching, he gets at the car screaming, Elena, it's a trap, don't go in there. After they've all nearly died in the incinerator and the guards, and then the crash, and they've already experienced all of that. Red Guardian's a little late. But he picks them up, he gives them a ride, and we're learning more about Red Guardian now. And he didn't sleep, he peed in a cup, he drove cross country, because in this committee scene at our fundraiser, as Val is leaving, telling Mel, all right, well, these guys have to die, let's kill them all. Just so happens, while she's having a conversation with Mel, the limo she's in, it's Red Guardian. So he now knows they're in danger, even though he's super late to the party. He now picks up these heroes, as I use loosely, and now they're essentially leaving. And so as they're sort of leaving, military vehicles catch up to them. And he's shooting at the car, and there's some funny stuff that happens where Red Guardian hits the wrong button. There's a disco in the van. It's supposed to be bulletproof. It's clearly not. Ghost tries to use her powers. It doesn't work. And there's just a lot of everything going wrong. And then, as we have this classic badassery of the Winter Soldier finally shows up, taking out car one by one with zero struggle whatsoever. And we get these really cool moments for Bucky where he's flipping trucks. He's using that gun that he used on Nick Fury when we first see him. So it just very much felt like how Winter Soldier used to be, except now he's cured. So we get all the same Winter Soldier vibes as far as the fighting style is concerned, but we don't have the bad guy version of him. And so the character is like, yay, hooray, Bucky, stop them, but then he shoots the bomb at their limo as well, which I really liked Red Guardian's limo. I thought it was great, but the car blew up, so, oh well, what are you going to do? At this point, Bucky has them basically captured. The helicopter's coming in. They're trying to tell him about Bob, saying, hey, he's this indestructible, unstable weapon. And he doesn't really believe them. He's like, okay, yeah, there's some great threat. Mel ends up finally calling him, saying, hey, Bob, Sentry, we gotta do something about it. So he's finally connecting all the dots where he realizes that all these parties involved see him as this big threat. So as Bucky finally agrees to take Bob seriously, he ends up taking the team, freeing them, saying, you guys are gonna help me stop him. They say, okay. Which is what Red Guardian always wanted. He always wanted them to have a team. He always wanted a team. And Yelena had the soccer team called the Thunderbolts, which she named them the Thunderbolts, and now Red Guardian's calling them all the Thunderbolts, hence the name. And so, what's interesting is also at the same time when Mel calls Bucky, Val is also, as Bob wakes up, talking to him, saying, hey, she's basically manipulating him. She's using him, which we all know that's what Val does. Saying, hey, you were a drug addict, you were supposed to die, nobody cares about you, these are bad people, the heroes that helped him, they're criminals, She's basically selling herself as a savior to him, saying he can be the savior for everyone else. And we get a little bit, when she touches his hand, a flashback from her. Because she's a villain already, her backstory, you just didn't really care too much about. But we get a little bit of it, and we see that she is vulnerable. And so, and she's telling Mel, yes, we have a kill switch for the Sentry, so we can still control him. And she's ready to present the Sentry. She's training Bob into using his powers, getting him ready to be the hero this world so desperately needs. And as the Thunderbolts finally show up at the base, they attack some guards, but Val gets on the comm saying, hey, come on up, let's face this. So when they get up there, they're threatening Val, Val's threatening the city, they're saying, all right, well, you're done, this isn't happening, you're just done. Well, here comes Sentry, stopping them from stopping Val, and they're sort of threatening each other, where now they realize, oh, he has a suit, he has all these powers, and they decide they're going to fight him, which goes extremely poorly. So now we have another extremely powerful, complex character who's morally on the fence about what to do. And so we get this really cool fight where he's just untouchable, just simply put, untouchable. No one's even making a dent into Sentry. And so as they all lose, Sentry tears off Bucky's arm. He folds John Walker's shield into a taco, which is, he calls it a taco for a few more times in the movie. And as they leave the building, Elena's basically calling them out, saying, you all suck. We suck. We're not a team. This is nothing. No one can stop them. There's nothing we can do. She walks off, and Red Guardian doesn't leave her alone. And so they finally hash it all out, where Red Guardian and Elena, where she basically she was fulfilled with her work. She wants to do some good. And Red Guardian saying, because she basically thinks that she's too far gone and has done too much bad to do any good. Red Guardian, to sum up this emotional scene, simply says that's just not true. He finally gives her some encouragement, and at this point, as they finish this very emotional, which was a really good acting scene for the both of them, when this conversation is over, by now, Sentry has already threatened Val, and she tries to use a kill switch, but it doesn't work. Sentry pushed her to the wall. Mel ends up using the kill switch on him, because Sentry basically tells Val, you can't control me. She was telling the Thunderbolts that he's more powerful than all the Avengers rolled into one and more. And as Sentry's basically telling her, why do I have to take orders from you? He said, I'm a god. She's telling him, well, using that term kind of loosely. And he says that he was told he was more powerful than all the Avengers, which includes at least one god. So he's finally realizing he is very unstoppable. And he doesn't kill the Thunderbolts, not because they're his friends and all that. He just says, well, they're not a threat, so I don't have to kill them. And which now he doesn't really see anyone as a threat. So as Mel uses the kill switch against him, he's turning into the Void, which is a term used throughout this movie where these people are talking, where I know about loneliness, there's this void, this void, this void. Basically teasing the Void. And so as Sentry becomes the Void, he is now being realized by the city as Yelena and Red Guardian finish their conversation. And when they see him up in the sky, people are attacking him, debris is coming down, and Red Guardian and Yelena, John Walker, then Ghost, they all start helping the people, debris falling on them. And as they're trying to help them, we finally see, so there's this one example that I think was in the trailer, where there's this giant piece of concrete coming down on this civilian. John Walker tries holding it up, then the rest of the team helps him out, including Bucky as well. They're all helping him out, and we finally see a group of people who aren't super powerful, but they're just trying to help others. And that's what Black Widow did. That's what Hawkeye did. That's what the Avengers did. And so we finally get to see sort of the similar stories we saw toward the beginning of the MCU, where, yeah, we have characters like Hulk and Thor, these untouchable characters. Sentry, this untouchable character. But we also have vulnerable, beatable characters like, Hawkeye, Black Widow. Now we have Ghost and Black Widow again. And so, finally feeling familiar, they decide, as Sentry is attacking, or the Void is attacking, they finally decide they have to face this. And the Void is pushing people down to where you see the shadow, where he's basically just, he's stretching his hand out. It's basically just a thought, and these people they vanish into nothingness. And so he is one of the most untouchable characters I think the MCU has ever had. And he's just Bob. It's on Thunderbolts. And so I just love that kind of story. And as the city is becoming, all of it becoming the Void, Elena goes inside the Void. We think that she's just ready to die, but turns out she's actually trying to get to the root of Bob's issues. And so when she dies, Red Guardian takes it pretty hard. And now we get, this is our final act when she goes into the Void, is she's going from room to room, and she finds Bob, not Sentry, not the Void. She finds Bob. And she hears his parents arguing downstairs, and we're learning more about Bob. And the Void, we learn, is basically taken over his mind, where he is the Void now. And so, as the Void is using this room that they're in to sort of attack them and nearly kill them, we now realize that the rest of the Thunderbolts team went inside the Void as well to go after Yelena. So they get to that room, they save them from the Void, and they decide, okay, well, this was the best room there, and we're still being attacked. We need to go to the worst room to confront the root of this issue. And as they get there, the Void basically uses metal on the wall to trap all the Thunderbolts except for Bob, basically saying, all right, well, you're some great hero. Let's see it. And so Bob is struggling to fight the Void, but eventually overpowers him. And we see that as Bob is beating down the Void, he's becoming the Void as well. And so as the Thunderbolts are able to push the metal off of them, we don't know what they're going to do. You assume these Winter Soldiers, or this was my headspace going into this scene is, well, he's way too dangerous. They're going to snap his neck. They're going to do something. They got to kill this guy. He's a threat. Yelena just goes over saying, you're not alone. She's just there for him, whether he turns into Void or not. And the rest of the Thunderbolts do the same. So we finally have characters we can root for, where they just, hey, this guy's been through a lot. I just want to be there for him. That's what they all do. They support Yelena. They may not all be as close with Bob as Yelena has gotten, but they're a team now, so that's what they're going to do. And they all wake up in the city, in the streets, where the Void was covering everything, and the Void is just disappearing. Everyone who died was brought back, and it is kind of a happy ending. And so, even though Bob doesn't have his memories anymore, which we assume is temporary, after seeing all of this, we now have a team. They see Val, and as they're running to, or approaching her to confront her, they go through this little tarp that she has set up, and now all of a sudden there's a news crew, and she is announcing them as the new Avengers. So even though Val tried to have them all killed, she's trying to spin it into her benefit, because she wanted the Sentry to be a hero for the people in New York, to make her unimpeachable. And, well, she doesn't have Sentry, but now she has Sentry/Void and a whole team of Avengers, because the city's been rooting for them because they were helping them out. And so they're sort of been accepted now by the city, or at least the people of New York. And so now we have our new Avengers. And as the credits roll, the Thunderbolts little asterisk becomes New Avengers. So now we learn what that was all about all along. And we get to the end credits scene. The mid-credit scene is just some comedy minute thing. The end credit scene actually gets into some stuff. And as we have this team in kind of new suits, they're sort of talking. It picks up 14 months later, where Bob is still just Bob. So we assume he hasn't been Sentry since then, which I'm assuming will be a build-up to next Avengers movies, him being the Sentry or Void. And so we get to see the team. They have new suits. They're saying that Sam Wilson is suing for copyright for the Avengers, because in Brave New World, he is going to start the new Avengers. He's going to rebuild the Avengers. And so they have this copyright issue now. So Red Guardian has the solution where the Thunderbolts, now new Avengers, will be Avengers with a Z. There's no copyright issue. I just love Red Guardian's simplicity for solution. So we get a couple more banter as well in this scene where they're finally a team. They have this brand new fancy base, new suits, everything. and there's a ship coming down. They don't know what it is, and when they get a scan of it, we see it is the Fantastic Four ship. Now, here's the interesting thing. For Fantastic Four, with Galactus and Silver Surfer coming, we don't know if they will all survive. We know Sue Storm is pregnant, so it could be just the infant is sent in the ship, like a Kal-El kind of thing, where he's sent away from the planet being destroyed. There's also, it could be the whole team. It could be some of the team. We just see the ship. It could be Silver Surfer taking the ship. We don't know. We just see the ship. And so it is exciting. And because of the committee scenes earlier in the film mentioning where they threw out the whole Red Hulk scenario, mentioning Red Hulk, what happened, it connected to the last MCU movie, and having the Fantastic Four ship connects it to the next MCU movie. So now we have, it all feels interconnected again, which I think is really, really good, because I know Brave New World has now connected to Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is now connected to Fantastic Four, which will inevitably connect to Doomsday, which I'm sure will connect to Secret Wars. And so, if Deadpool Wolverine is in the movie, and then, you know, that connects it all as well. That's at least, like, 5 to 6 movies that are all connected. And so, I'm really excited for that. I think that MCU is finally in a better direction. Thunderbolts was a really, really great movie. It was funny, it had heart, it was emotional, there was good writing, there was good acting, there was some funny comedy, there were some really powerful characters. We now have someone who can face off against Doom. I think we have the makings of a really good MCU right now. So I hope we can keep Thunderbolts / New Avengers / Avengers with a Z quality moving forward. I hope it stays that way. I think this was a really great movie. There are so many positives. I didn't really have anything I didn't like about it. There was maybe 1, maybe 2 jokes that were dumb. That's my only complaint with this whole movie. And so, that being said, I definitely recommend you guys see Thunderbolts. All the people that were involved with A24, the crew behind this movie as well, with the cinematography and the writing and all of this stuff, the quality shows, and the characters have character development. They've all grown from the last time we saw them. Each and every character. Ghost, we don't get a lot of character development because she had so much in her last, or her only movie, basically. And so, as all these characters are growing, I think there are now real stakes for if these characters may die. I'm going to be upset if some of these die, if they perish during Doomsday. So they finally have set up hype for future movies. I'm still on the fence with Fantastic Four. We'll see how it goes. But I think they have the building or the makings of a really good MCU right now. So like I said, I just hope it stays that way. So thank you guys so much for watching my review. I know this was a longer one, but there was a lot to explain. There's a lot I wanted to mention. There was a lot I wanted to talk about. That's why I make these videos. I just enjoy talking about movies, and there was a lot to cover in this one. So if you're still here, thank you for watching this whole review. Keep it digging, everyone. I will see you guys next time.